for most high achieving women, fulfillment is number one. I feel fulfilled in my role, right? Because if we're not, we leave and go to another role. But when we're fulfilled in our role, that's kind of the pinnacle of here. I'm here and fulfilled. We just have to find what's the role. I found this fulfills me, without a fancy title or whatever. It fulfills me to help people, right? To run even a free workshop to say, did somebody walk away thinking, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go out and kill it. Then I accomplished my goal. So it's really finding something that you can really hang your hat on, be passionate about.
Hey, I'm Tine, your pivot and pay strategist. I help Black women double their income by leveraging their existing skills. I am all about getting Black women paid, whether you're an employee or a business owner. And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I'm your host, Tine, international speaker, award-winning author, founder and CEO of Getting Black Women Paid, and your Audacity coach. We have a guest episode today, and I am so thrilled for this conversation. You know, when we talk about getting Black women paid, we always want to talk about what the end goal is. The end goal is not the money. The end goal is, I want to get paid so that I can. And today we're going to be talking about retirement, and not just the financial side of retirement, but all of the other stuff that goes into it. So first, I'd love to introduce you to our guest, and then we will get right into it. Lisa Haynes is a certified executive and retirement coach and the author of Retired and Killing It. After decades as a CFO, she now helps retirees and soon-to-be retirees design a life they're excited to live, focusing on the non-financial side of retirement. Lisa shares her Killin' It formula, a simple framework to help listeners thrive in retirement with purpose, connection, and joy, so they can make the next chapter their best one yet. I cannot wait, so let's get right into it. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so excited for this conversation. I am a retirement enthusiast, and I think it's such an important piece for all of us to be thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really glad we're going to be having this conversation. I always like to start with my guests off with, your origin story. We're curious just how you came to be doing the work that you do now.
Yeah, so it's an interesting story in that I never thought I'd be here doing this. I knew I'd be doing something. And so I like to take it back to the place where I kind of decided that, hey, I think I'm ready to retire, right? So I had been in my role for 10 years, chief financial officer, chief diversity and inclusion officer, and I've been doing that. And I thought to myself, this has been great. I've done wonderful things since I've been at this company, great company, large trade association in DC, and really kind of felt like it was ready. I was time to do something else. I felt like I had accomplished what I came to accomplish, and so I'm wrestling with what to do next. And so immediately I start thinking, I need to get a CFO job at a larger company. That's what it is. I have one more big push left in me before I retire. I'm going to go out and look for this next CFO significant role. And so I met with a coach through an organization called Athena Alliance that I'm a member of, and told her what my plan was. And she said, okay, I have a bunch of questions. I want you to take these away. And then we come back and meet. Let's talk about them. And so as I start to address some of her questions, what does the company look like? What does the role look like? How many people are reporting to you? What does the company do? Yeah. I started to get weighed down with this idea that I was going to start all over again. And I realized I don't want another job. I don't want to start all over at another company and prove myself all over. And I came back to her and told her, I said, I'm going to retire. And she said, well, I wasn't expecting that, but what are you going to do? I said, I feel like there's a lot of things out there that I could be doing that A, give back, but B, fulfill me. And so I started doing training for an executive coach because that was kind of always on my ball, always in my purview. I want to be an executive coach. And in that process, ran into this thing called retirement coaching. Had never heard of it. I've done some on the financial side. I've taken some courses, got some certifications in helping people on the financial side. But when I heard about this piece of retirement coaching is the non-financial side, in my mind I'm like, what is the non-financial side? Is there actually a non-financial side? And realized, having retired, I didn't have a plan. Like, what was I
Mm.
had some ideas about what I wanted to do when I retired. I'm going to go spend some time with my grandkids, and I'm going to do this, that. I had some ideas. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to start cooking. Some of those things have happened, some have not. But I realized that 20 to 30 years is a long time. And that's what retirement is. And so I got really excited about this idea of helping people to plan ahead, something I didn't do, but quickly figured out that this is important. We need to start having a plan, because too many people are going back to work, not because they have to, but because they're bored. Like, oh, I just went back to work because I'm
Mhm.
bored. I became a Walmart greeter because I'm bored. Nothing wrong with being a Walmart greeter if that's what you want to do, but it shouldn't be because I'm bored and I don't have anything else to do. It should be, I want to greet people because it's the way I give back, right? So I started doing this. I wrote the book, which kind of just dropped in my lap, I'll say. It was just kind of, it just came to me. Um, that people like a formula and people
Yeah.
like something they can remember. The phrase came from a conference that I was on a panel for. So right after I retired, I was on a panel for a conference, and the question was, how are you doing in retirement? Because I just retired, and what made you retire? And I said to the moderator, honestly, I think I was born to be retired because I'm really good at it. And she said, what kinds of things are going on? I just said, I'm killing it. And that was the beginning of it. Was just saying that phrase, I'm killing it, and started
Mhm.
laughing. And everyone started laughing, obviously. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, meant to be a joke, but that's where it all started. And so from that point, I've been really focused on trying to figure out how to help people be ready for retirement, not just financially, but to walk into it and be really excited about this next chapter in their life.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that
Absolutely.
origin story. I love that you when you were trying to figure out kind of your next move, you spoke with a coach. It can be so valuable to be
Can.
asked those questions, and the answer might be, I don't even actually want help doing the thing I came to you for. Right?
Exactly.
Like, but because
Exactly.
you asked those probing questions, I was able to really, engage in some introspection
Yes.
and feeling my
Yes.
body, right? The way you described that heavy feeling.
Mhm.
It's so
Mhm.
important for us to listen to those cues our body is giving us
Right.
when we're going through that. So I love that you shared that part of the story, and just the organic way that killing it came about.
Yeah.
It's so
I
fun.
think back and I just laugh. I'm like, you made one statement. And then,
Yep,
I just kept saying it to people. And then I started posting it on, social media, like I'm killing it. And then I started posting pictures of me doing things and killing it. And it
yeah.
became like a thing, like, oh, and then people started, responding, yeah, you're really killing it. And I'm like, I am. And I just kept going with it.
Yeah, that's how it happens sometimes. I mean, that's how Getting Black Women Paid started. A coach asked
Exactly.
me, I was
Really.
trying to talk about a speaking career or something, and she said, "Well, what lights you up?" And I said, "Getting Black women paid." And then that was it.
I
Sometimes the
love
things
it.
that come out
I
of our
love it.
mouths when we're asked those
Yes.
poignant questions become,
I love that.
such an important part of our story.
I
And
love that.
so I know that most people when they're planning for retirement are really focused on the money side, right?
Yes.
What's my finances going to be? How's my 401k?
Yes.
What's my financial strategy? And you really focus on the non-financial side.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, why is that part so important, and what are the things that we typically overlook in terms of that
Yeah,
part?
It's funny, I just wrote an article for an organization called Three Things Your Financial Advisor Probably Isn't Going to Tell You. The first one was around identity. And so
Mhm.
when we've worked for 20, 30 years, and some of us at the same job, most of us these days not, but there's a sense of identity that's lost, right? I was coaching someone and she said, one of the reasons she hadn't chosen her retirement date is because she didn't know how she was going to answer the question, what do you do?
Yep.
So for years, she had answered the question, I'm a vice president of XYZ. And now she said, well, what do I tell people I do when they ask me, what do I do? Like, that's a question you get everywhere you go. And so that identity issue, number one, is something we don't talk about. We have the money, but when we step out of that role, and that's a piece of our identity for some of us, a bigger piece than others. That's something that we have to grapple with. What's that new identity? And then there's this loss of structure, right? So when you're working, you have structure, you have meetings, you have to be to work at a certain time. And then all of a sudden you don't have structure and you can do anything you want. And while that sounds wonderful, I can do anything I want. I say to people, when you retire, you now have 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. That is a lot of time. Normally, you just have Saturday. Sunday typically doesn't change when you go into retirement. We all have a routine on Sunday. It kind of stays the same. But you
Sure.
now have all the things that you used to do on Saturday, you can do Monday through Friday. So now you have 6 Saturdays. What do you do with all that time? And so structure becomes a really, really big part of that. How do you structure your day? What are you going to do with all that time? And the third thing is the social aspect. Um, Many of our relationships are at work. Whether they're really tight relationships or just casual relationships, a lot of them are at work. And so in the program I took, they have a study that says that our touch points go from 22 touch points a day to about 11 a day. So they cut in half the number of touch points that you have, cut in half when you retire. And people
Mm.
aren't ready for that. They think, well, I'm going to retire, I have all the time. I can go lunch with all my friends. I could do all this. Well, some of your friends are still working, so they're busy. Some of your
Right.
friends are retired and they're busy. And then if you move, that's a whole, people retire, they move, that's a whole new social circle. And so
Mhm.
just that social part of it is another really, really key aspect that has to be considered. What happens with all those relationships, even your relationships with your kids? Because if you're not careful, you become the go-to, the gopher. Like you have free time, you're retired, can you do X, Y? So you become that person that everybody
Yep.
can rely on. And then it becomes their time, not your time. And so just
Mhm.
being able to set boundaries around relationships, being able to identify which ones are worth investing in. There are some relationships that it may go by the wayside because you're not working anymore. And that relationship had a work kind of really effect to it. It was really
Right.
connected by work. It may not be as critical to you anymore. And so, kind of moves down on the totem pole. But then there are others in your social circle. Maybe they're part of will you volunteer or will you go to church? They may become higher on that list because now you have more time to spend with some of those people. So it's just, those are just three of the ones that I just pointed out recently, but they can be big ones for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that identity piece, I know specifically in the United States, when you
Yes.
meet a new person, what do you do? That is
What do
the
you do?
question. It's what's your name and then what do you do? Absolutely. And so I love
Exactly.
that you help folks kind of answer that question or
Yeah.
even approach that question in a different way.
Mhm.
And when you talked about the structure piece, that really struck a chord with me. My mom actually retired this year. And in those first couple of months, I would have conversations with her where she's like, okay, well, I'll see you on Friday. And I'm like, tomorrow's Friday. And she's like, what? I just, because it's like, oh, no, normally I'm like at my computer all day with a calendar reminding me of each meeting and all the things. And so, yeah, keeping track of 6 Saturdays in a row.
6 Saturdays in a row gets hard. We were on a call one day, a family call, and this is before I retired. And one of my retired cousins says, well, have a nice weekend. And someone said, it's Tuesday. But to her, it was Saturday or Friday or whatever day. She had no idea what day it was. She said, "Have a nice weekend," and we're all like, "It's we got a lot of days before the weekend." But the reality is, when you lose
Yeah,
that structure, you do kind of lose what day it is. There are times when I'm like, "Is this today Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday?" Friday,
right.
you're kind of good on, but in between,
And I've never heard it framed that way, the 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. I love that. Um, and I'm wondering, specifically, you work with high achieving women, right? And I think
yes,
for those of us, especially Black women, we're used to leading, working, producing. And I'm wondering, like what are the specific challenges that high achieving women face when the title and the paycheck go away?
Yeah, one of the big challenges is you have worked your entire career to get where you landed, right? And so there is a sense of achievement, but there's also a sense of disappointment that the thing that you achieved, you're walking away from. So one of the things that I say to people often is you've got to define success for yourself. You can't let the world define success for you because if you do, you're always chasing something. And one of the things I said at a retirement party I had was I had to determine for myself what was success. And I determined that that was I left a legacy and I made an impact. Two things that are critically important to me. And then said, I'm walking away to continue to leave a legacy and to continue to make an impact. And so for high achieving women, it's really important that you find that thing, whatever that is, what's your passion, that thing that you're the best at, that thing that you're really, really good at. Maybe it's your superpower, maybe it's not, but whatever that thing is that you're really good at, it's the thing that you can use to continue to be that person who gives back, to continue to leave the legacy person, right? There are some people, you are the best encourager there is. Well, I guarantee you that there is a boatload of women out there who need to be encouraged. For women
Absolutely.
who have, young women who are still climbing that ladder, they are in a really, really tough environment right now. I mean, tougher than I think, many in my age bracket who were climbing the ladder. They're in a tougher environment, I think, right
Mhm.
now, in my opinion, and could use the wisdom of people who have succeeded in tough environments, who've made it to, maybe the top of their career, in the top, three positions of their career, could really use that. So I think one of the keys for high achieving women is to find the spot where you actually can continue to give back and you can continue
Mhm.
to feel fulfilled. Because I think for most high achieving women, fulfillment is number one. I feel fulfilled in my role, right? Because if
Yeah.
we're not, we leave and go to another role. But when we're fulfilled in our role, that's kind of the pinnacle of here. I'm here. I'm fulfilled. We just have to find what's the role. I found this. This fulfills me, without a fancy title or whatever. It fulfills me to help people, right? To run even a free workshop to say, did somebody walk away thinking I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go out and kill it. Then I accomplished my goal. So it's really finding something that you can really hang your hat on, be passionate about, and figure out how to have it fulfill you.
Yeah. Yeah, and for folks who maybe they don't want to, become an executive coach or,
Right.
become an entrepreneur in their
Mhm.
retirement, maybe it's volunteering at an organization
Exactly.
where you get set up as a mentor for folks. I think
Exactly.
there are all kinds of ways to give back. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love the people who find their spot for volunteering because even in the volunteering, you're going to reach or touch someone in your volunteering.
Exactly. And I love this the killing it formula. So you describe the killing it formula in your book, and I'm wondering, can you walk us through just sort of a overview, maybe a high level of
Yeah.
what it is and how it helps people kind of thrive in their next
Yeah.
chapter?
I'd love to. So the K in killing it stands for keep moving. And that's keep moving physically, mentally, and socially.
Mm,
It is easy when you retire to get stagnant. It is easy to get stuck. And so the challenge for people, and there's exercises, there's a workbook to help you think about what it means to keep moving in on those three areas. The second I is the first I is ignite your passion. And so find out what it is that you're passionate about, right? What drives you. Um, the third one is laugh a lot. I just think humor is something
yeah.
we need to do more of, right? We need to laugh more. And the benefits of laughter are actually documented research of how laughter helps us, and we don't laugh a lot.
Mm,
The next L is live for legacy, right? What are you going to leave behind? And it's not most of us. It's not no matter what high performing job we came out. It's not going to be $1 million that we leave to our kids and our grandkids, but it's going to be some other things. Maybe you're the storyteller in your family. and you leave the legacy of all the stories from your family that the young people don't know. Maybe your legacy is just whatever. Maya Angelou says, Dr. Maya Angelou says, your legacy is every life that you touch. So, what's the legacy you're going to leave? The next one is imagine what's next. So dream big, dream bold. And that's where you challenge people to step outside of their box of what they've been doing all of this time, all of their life, and say, what else can you do? What have you always been dying to do? And I like to take people through this thing called the possibilities. List all the possibilities of things that you've thought about doing and never had the time. And
Mm,
then go for the bucket list. Like, what's been on your bucket list? So one of the things on my bucket list was several countries that I wanted to visit. Well, I'm knocking 3 of them off my bucket list this year, and I'm really excited about that. First year retirement, 2 cruises, knocking off some countries. So that's been fantastic. But what's on your bucket list? And then there's your dare list. And your dare list says, what's that thing or that 1 or 2 things that it is bigger than I ever thought. It's a little scary. I'm not sure I really want to do this, but you know that it's something that you're supposed to do. For me, it was writing this book. Like, I'm like, I don't really want to write this book. It's going to be a lot of work, but that was my dare to get this out. So really, it's figuring out what you're imagining what's next for you. The N is nurture your network. And so this is where you stop and realize that your network is different. And
mm,
there's an exercise where you basically go through all the relationships in your life and you start to think about which ones am I going to reprioritize, which ones are worth investing in, which ones maybe were just work. So really figuring out who you're now in a space where you get to choose who is in your network. First, before you were forced to have some people in your network just based on the job. Now you're choosing who's in your network. So it's good to choose wisely, right? The last I is invest in others. How can you invest in others? We've all been given so much. We've all learned so much in life. How can you invest? Even if it's just in one person, how can you invest? One of the things that I like to talk about that's a good investment is, just listening to the stories of our elders, right? We don't listen to them enough. And so what stories are they telling that by listening, we're investing in them. We're just listening to
yeah.
them. And then the T is tell yourself you're killing it. So you've got to be the person to encourage yourself. You got to be your biggest cheerleader. There are times that you're going to get up and go, this is a horrible day. I'm not killing it today. But you've got to tell yourself that you're killing it. Because if you tell yourself, you'll feel like, okay, I'm going to go tackle one of those letters. I may not kill all of them, all 8 of them today, but today I'm going to tackle, keep moving physically, and I'm getting up and going for a walk, right? So it's just encouraging yourself to do that. And so we're using that formula in exercises to take people through it, because the formula is easy to say, but when you actually try to go through these steps, which I have with clients, they're like, this is hard. And I said,
Yeah.
it's hard because it forces you to think. How I came up with 6 Saturdays was the first client that I went through this with, who said, I don't know what I'm going to do with all this time. And I said, well, what do you normally do on Saturday? And they told me what they do on Saturday. And I said, well, now you have 5 more Saturdays. What are you going to do with that time? And they're like, and they almost panic, like, what in the world can I possibly do with all this? I said, okay, let's
Yeah.
relax. Now let's talk about the things you've always wanted to do. And by the time we finished the full week, they were like, I just don't have any time to work. I'm really busy. I said, that's the attitude that you want to have when you leave your job. It's like, I have so much planned, work was getting in the way.
Mm. Oh, I love that so much. And you really, I mean, obviously in the book you go into more detail, but you
I do.
really tackle each one from every direction, right? Because even
Yes.
starting with keep moving, I'm kind of thinking metaphorically, yeah, yeah, you got to keep moving in your life. Like, no, physically,
Physically.
mentally, and socially. And then, how do you do that for each of these things? I
Yes.
love that you really approach each of these things
Yes.
in a way that, right, there's going to be exercises we can actually walk through and
Mhm.
dig into each of them. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and some of the stories for me were fantastic to be able to tell. And I like to get in, people say, well, yeah, I go for a walk, but I go into some of the research behind the importance of physical movement. And one of the things that I talk about, which I only learned when I started going through this coaching, was something called the dark side of retirement. I'd never really heard of it before, but it's really the side of retirement nobody talks about, with their high instances of loneliness and high instances of depression, and
Mhm.
actually high instances of drug use, and retired 65 and over, whether it's prescription drugs or otherwise, because people's are looking to fulfill themselves. So that sense of loneliness, that sense of being by themselves all the time, really is the dark side of retirement that we don't talk about,
Yeah.
but can be attacked with the plan.
Mm. Oh, absolutely. And, obviously you are very introspective. And one of the things I like to try to do is reflect on, my past self. And I'm wondering, if you could go back and talk to the Lisa who was still working as a CFO, what would you tell her about the life waiting on the other side of retirement?
Yeah, one of the things I would tell myself about the other side is, um, don't live in a fairyland, right? There's an idea that when you retire, you reach nirvana. This is it. I've worked my entire career for this, and I'm going to walk out here, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And then it's not, right? Or it's
Mm.
great until it's not. And so, one of the things I would tell myself is be prepared mentally for the shift, right? And that was and it to me, it almost doesn't matter what your job was. It almost doesn't matter whether you were a high performing executive or whether you were the person who does sanitation. It almost doesn't matter, because our identities really are very much attached to our jobs. And so whatever job you're in, you've been proud of doing that job. And I think I would tell myself then, don't underestimate the mental shift that it's going to take for you to get out of the fact that you aren't working. I mean, there are times now when I look and I say, boy, am I glad I'm not working, right? Woo, I'm glad I'm glad I don't have to get up this morning, which is always a favorite of mine. The fact that I don't have to get up in the morning at a certain time, particularly on Mondays. The fact that
Mm.
Monday is absolutely the day I just get up whenever I want to, unless I have a massage or I have to go to the chiropractor. Those are the two things I will get up for. But I
I
think
love
a
it. I'll
big
get up
part
for
of
a
that,
massage.
I'll get up for a massage. That's it. As a matter of fact, the dentist tried to get me to get up at 8. I said, no, I'm retired. I don't do the dentist at 8:30 ever. She started laughing, like, not even for a cleaning. No, ma'am. So I think a big part of it was just setting my mind to, it's going to be a shift and an adjustment, and figure out how you're going to work through that, whether that's planning lunches with other retired people before you retire, right? So, and I think that's a good idea. Talk to other retired people, if they retired in your industry or at your level. Just talk to them. What was it like for you? When was the honeymoon phase over? I would have loved to know that part too, because initially I retired and I thought, oh my gosh, and I started doing everything. I'm like, literally started doing everything. And I have a regular executive coach, not the woman who talks about, I'm a regular executive coach. She said, what are you doing? And I said, I don't know. And she said, slow down, you're retired. But initially, because I didn't quite have a plan, I started doing everything. I started taking these courses and people were offering things. And I'm like, yeah, I signed up for this and I signed up for this. She said, what are you doing? And I'm like, I actually don't know right now. Like, I just was
Yeah.
doing things. And so I think I would tell my former self to have my pre-retired self, have a plan that says you're going to do nothing for this period of time, and then you're going to start looking into this for this period of time, and then you'll kick into gear, but it won't be until this period of time, right?
Mm.
So I tried to kick into gear literally like 6 weeks or so after I retired. I was taking all these courses, I'm doing all this, and she literally had to slow me down and said,
Yeah.
stop what you're doing. So that's what I would tell myself.
Mm. And I love the idea of the lunches with other retired people. It reminds me of, if you're doing a career pivot, you might do
Yeah.
informational interviews to kind of get a sense of, well, what is it
Mm-hmm.
like in this industry? Same
Mm-hmm.
thing for retirement. That's such a great idea.
Right. Absolutely.
And for the folks who are listening to this and are just dying to know more, for folks who are like, how can I get the book? How do I dig into the framework? Maybe even coach with you.
Yeah.
Can you tell folks how to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So, Easy to find, www.retiredandkillinit on Facebook, Retired and Killing It on Instagram, Retired and Killing It. So very consistent branding. The book is on the website. It's also on Amazon.com for those who want it, both in the hard copy and in Kindle version. On the website, there's also T-shirts. I have some apparel. What's funny is I had a book signing, and so I had apparel for myself, my husband, and my mom. But I had my goddaughters there, and they were helping, and they couldn't have retired and killing it t-shirts because they're not. So they're
Right.
now retired and killing it someday t-shirts because they needed a t-shirt that related to them, and they think they're fabulous. They love them, but at the bottom it says someday.
I
So
love
there's
it.
apparel. I just want people to walk around feeling like, and somebody's going to ask you a question. It's amazing how many times somebody's come, I wore the t-shirt and someone asked me, what does that mean? And I said, I'm killing it. And people just love the idea of the excitement. The excitement is contagious. That if one person can be that excited about being retired, how can we all get there? Right. So
Yeah.
that so we can change the face of retirement.
Oh my goodness. I love that so much. I definitely got to get me a shirt. And
Absolutely.
and it is easy to remember, retiredandkillingit.com, but we will
Yes.
also have the link in the show notes as well as the links to Facebook and Instagram, so you all can find Lisa there as well. I want to thank you again for coming and sharing with us. This is such a crucial part of all of our lives, and it's
Yeah.
so often overlooked. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thank you. This was an absolute joy to be here, and I had so much fun. What a great conversation. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you all for joining us for this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Hey, thanks for listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, subscribe wherever you're listening now. And if you love what you heard, be sure to leave us a review. And make sure you share this podcast with the incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid. All right, we'll see you in the next one.